super excited tonight. Hey, Instagram. I got everybody tonight. I'm so excited. I got Instagram on, I got Facebook on, and I got my song playing. This is what we're talking about tonight. You had a lot of crooks trying to steal your heart. Never really had love, couldn't never figure out how to love. How to love. You had a lot of moments that didn't last forever. Now you're all grown up, trying to put it together. How to love. How to love. Some of you guys know this is Lil Wayne's song. Just a young girl, your looks were so precious. Now you're grown up, so fly, it's like a blessing. But you can't have a man look at you for 5 seconds without you feeling insecure. You never cut it yourself, so when you got older, it seems like it came back 10 times over. Now you're sitting here in this corner, looking over your thoughts and looking over your shoulder. You had a lot of crooks trying to steal your heart. Never really had love, couldn't never figure out how to love. How to love. You had a lot of moments that didn't last forever. Now you're all grown up, trying to put it together. How to love. How to love. I want you to know that you deserve the best. You're beautiful. Yes. I want you to know. Hey, Justice for Jace. Can't see you guys on here yet. So if you're coming on to Facebook, I know I'm typically late because my computer and stuff be acting out. Let me know you're here. How to love. How to love. You had a lot of minutes that didn't last forever. Now you're all grown up, trying to put it all together. How to love. Hey, Dwayne. Hey, Miriam. Hey, Mom. So you guys know we're on, while she's doing this little bass is killing it, we're on a series called How to Love, and I'm utilizing Lil Wayne with the remake by Christy Dachelle to really break down. I did not get a new computer yet, Lydia, but I got on here starting at 8:30, and then I figured out a little trick to get it to pop up a little faster and be live. But we still believe her. But yeah, we're talking about how to love in this series, but tonight we're going to talk about what is love. You had a lot of crooks trying to steal your heart. Never really had love, couldn't ever figure out how to love. And this song, You're Welcome. Hey, Pastor Derek. The Jolly Green Giant. I do not know who that is, but hello. Yes, Nydia. It's one of my favorites. And there's a reason we're listening to this song. She'll modulate the mess out of the song. So we're gonna just fade it out. We're going to fade it out. So we've been doing series over the last couple of months. And last month we did Breaking the Curse of Fatherlessness. And what has happened now is we're talking about how to love. And this particular song, many of you know it from Lil Wayne. If you were on my personal Instagram page, you watched me over my birthday weekend. It was my birthday this weekend. What you watched me do was I had a trap music, like birthday style on my, and I was like, I know people don't know. Yes, I listen to Lil Wayne, not often, but that particular song, when Christy Dachelle did it, I was like, I know I've heard these lyrics before. It made me go and listen to Lil Wayne's version. Hey, Mary Anthony. You guys, let me break for a minute as what I'm talking about. So Mary Anthony is the therapist in Toronto who saw me on social media. For those of you who are on Instagram, you should follow her. Saw what I was doing with I've got daddy issues and was like, you need to bring that to Canada. So now next month we're coming to Canada with I've got daddy issues, and I'm super excited to tag team this with her. She gets what I do, even sometimes when I don't get what it is I'm doing. I know that God has led me to do some things, and even utilizing yeah, my husband put on here, you Instagram, my husband put on here that I made him listen to trap music. Yes, I did. But I get to utilize my gifts in a way that sometimes we don't know what we're doing. We just know that we're supposed to do it. Oh, she said, oh, thank you, Mom, taking your breath away. I said, I got to show up different on Tuesday nights. I come on here sometimes like, whoo, it's been a rough day, and I slide in. I said, I can't do that tonight. So I just went, it took me 2 minutes to do this because I already knew what I was going to do. Jewelry, lipstick, eyeliner, hair was already worked out because I got a photo shoot in the morning. So yes, and I threw the dress on that was in the closet. So thank you, Mo. I'm working on showing up differently tonight. Because how many of you know how we represent ourselves and how we look, especially on social media? It matters. And it's not that I care about what people think, but you never know who's watching. And I think it's super important to show up the way that I want to be represented and how I want to look. So as I'm talking about this song, How to Love, for those of you who do not know the song, for those of you who do not know the lyrics, I want to read them. I know them kind of, and I want to make sure I say them correctly. I do not want to play it again. So the song starts out by saying, you had a lot of crooks try to steal your heart. You never had much luck. You've always tried to figure out how to love. You had a lot of moments that didn't last forever. And now you're all grown up trying to put it together. And those are just the words that really made me, as I was dealing with what I was going to talk about for the month of February, that song kept resonating in my spirit. And the more I listened to the words, I'm like, this is what we feel as fatherless adults. We've had a lot of stuff. We've had a lot of crooks steal our hearts, whether it was a present or absent father, or whether it was our ex-husbands who didn't know how to love us, or ex-wives who loved us wrong. And crooks is not synonymous with male or male. Often we throw that onto a man, but sorry, ladies, we show up in a very negative way at times that I definitely know that crooks can be a word that can be used for us when it comes to love and relationships. So you have a lot of crooks try to steal your heart. Never had luck, and you've tried to figure it out. What are you figuring out? You're figuring out how to love. So tonight in the How to Love series, I want to talk about what is love. What's love? I want somebody to put in the chat. So let me go through this. I'm Dr. Tori J. I just kind of jumped on here because I was just jamming to my song. I'm the founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. And I come on every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I do what is called Healing Tuesday. I haven't been on Instagram as much because my computer was tripping. And so I would have to do it on my phone. But it looks like everything is working and I'm good and I can do both. But it's every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what I need you to know is, if you want to share it now, you can share it if you think it's something people want to hear and they need to know about, share it. If you want to hear a little bit and then share later, I'm good with that too. If you are jumping on right now and you're listening to the replay, I want you to put replay in the comment section. I think that's super important when I know who's listening to it after the fact. I want to get into Healing Tuesday is engaging. I do not want you to sit and listen because I don't have all the answers and I never present that way. I've been doing this now a little over a year, or not a year, I'm sorry, a little over 6 months. And now into the 6 months, lots of activity is going to happen over here on Facebook because they're used to me. So I want you to engage. I want you to talk about it. I want you to dig into this. So I want to know what you guys think love is. So what is love? Put it in the comment section. How do you define love? What is love? And while you guys are doing that, and I'm waiting for it to come up, last week we talked about the voice of the Father. For those of you who are on Instagram, you're going to want to go on to Facebook and listen to the voice of a Father, because how to love, it can show up different ways. And when we're dealing with issues when it comes to the voice of the Father, we see someone who says they love us as being demeaning, as being negative, as coming for you, right? We were like, this is an attack. That's what was said on here last week. It's an attack. And what is love? What is love? If I can't tell you the truth, then is that love? If I can't speak honestly to you about your blind spots and all those things, what is love? But when you have an issue with the voice of a father, what takes place in many ways is you see someone speaking to you and trying to correct you and give you direction. You see it as being demeaning. You see it as being disrespectful. You see it as they coming for me, and I'm dealing with an attack, and I have to defend myself, because you never received that from your father. You never got the direction that you needed from your father, so the voice is very unfamiliar. And I know that was a process and something for people to think about. Hey, Tamika, how are you? It was an issue for people to relate to. And I understand that. I think it had to be digested last week, and we'll revisit it another time. But you guys blessed me last week with your honesty and the words that you use. And that's why we want you to engage, because how you put it and how you phrase it can change somebody's life on here. How you have gone through the process, or how you feel when you are challenged by someone speaking the truth to you and you're honest about it. Other people can chime in and realize that they're not the only ones and say, me too, right? So that's the beauty of the conversation. So wait, when it comes to love and how it's defined, Dwayne says an unconditional feeling, emotions for someone or something, to not accept the good things, but to love the negative things about them. Okay. Nydia Cruz says, love comes in different ways. Love is what you've been taught love is as a child. Okay. Those are two individuals who are talking about what love is. All right, Instagram, I need you to engage. What's love to you? Because I think both comments have validity, especially the part where Nydia says love comes and shows up in different ways. And love is what you've been taught love is as a child. I lost my father, stepfather, and now father-in-law. Went to the viewing tonight. Oh, I'm sorry, Tamika. Well, maybe we can help you a little bit tonight by giving you some comfort, giving you prayers. And that's tough. That's really tough. Because now all of the male figures in her life, Tamika over here on Instagram, all the male figures in her life are gone. Nydia says, true love is unconditional, selfless, patient, kind. It's also holding someone you love accountable for their actions and words. Now that is what I consider love. But that's not what everyone else considers love. And so if you get involved in a relationship with someone and that's not how they define love, you're going to find yourself in a whole lot of trouble. You're going to find yourself in a whole lot of trouble. You know why? Because as soon as you try to give them that part about loving them and being accountable, they're going to show up in a different kind of way. And that's going to be, they're going to feel like they under attack. Unconditional love was what I got from him. Yeah. And that's what fathers provide. I want to ask you guys, I'll ask you some other questions here in a moment, but I'm going to talk to you about different types of love tonight. As Nydia said, love comes in different ways. I'm going to go through 7, hopefully I'll get to 7 different types of love that we should experience in our lives. I probably will only get through 5 based on the time, but I'll probably do the other 2 next week because I think they're a little deeper, and we need to understand those. How our fathers demonstrate love to us is from a place of encouragement, from a place of being our cheerleader. And let me say it this way. How our fathers demonstrate, let me read Mo's first, I'm sorry. She said, I'm just now learning what love is now since being reunited with my father. Ooh, message, yeah. Because our fathers teach us that. We think we know. So that's where I'm getting to. That was a good segue, Mo. Our fathers demonstrate love to us in a positive way. I need to specify. In a positive way by being our cheerleaders, by encouraging us, by speaking to us in a way that is loving. Although they may just be disappointed, it's how they show up and how they look at us when it comes to that disappointment. Father, how he shows up in a negative way. He shows his disappointment. He's critical. He's absent. Those are ways that dads show up, and they teach us how to love. So when you have a father who is a father who is disappointed, and he shows it and demonstrates it in his face when you do something wrong, that is an easy way for a young woman, especially, to become a people pleaser, especially for the men in her lives. Especially. So if you know that look, and you don't want to get that look, you don't want to get that look of disappointment, you do everything to please the person. An absent father, that becomes a process where you got to be seen. And if you're seen, then it shows that you're loved. And that means that I'll do anything I need to do to be seen. How many of us have seen that in the world we live in? Everyone's wanting to be seen. I'll get into more of that in a moment. But the father that we should have had is the cheerleader. There was a story that I read tonight in a particular book that I give out. And I got to do better about that. A couple of people have gotten this book, and it's a really good book. It deals with your father wound, but it also shows you how God will show up and help you through that process. And it's called, let me see, The Father You've Always Wanted, How God Heals Your Father Wounds. A couple of people have gotten the book, and it's a really good book because it shows you your fathers aren't perfect. Our fathers are never perfect. And we need our Heavenly Father to we need our Heavenly Fathers to add to what our fathers can't provide. And any pain that we've experienced, just know that can be healed. That's a process that can be healed. Let me see what Chris said. Love is a journey. It's a verb, not a noun. I've loved so many ways, some good, some bad. It changes forms, and has different purposes. I like that, Chris, because it does. It depends on the people or the person that you're loving. So I want to know, I want you to put this in the comment section. What kind of father did you have? Did you have the disappointed dad who, when you made a mistake or you were wrong, you could see it on his face? Did you have the absent dad? You grew up fatherless and you weren't there, and he wasn't there. Did you have the critical dad, the dad who always criticized you for the wrongs that you made, and even before you made wrongs, just didn't seem happy about anything about you? Or did you have the cheerleader dad who cheered you on, and when you struck out or when you did something wrong, he knew you'd get it right the next time and he'd cheer you on? So what kind of dad did you have? Disappointed dad, absent dad, critical dad, or cheerleader dad? While you guys are putting that in the chat, Tamika says, conversations with my stepfather that encouraged me with the good things and didn't sugarcoat anything when I was wrong. Ooh, see that balance. That's what fathers provide. They provide a balance. Mo said, grew up fatherless. She had the absent dad. Come on, Facebook, y'all not. I got Instagram chiming in way faster than y'all. What's going on with you people over here? Did you have the disappointed dad, absent dad, critical dad, or cheerleader dad? Maybe you had a different kind of dad. Okay, Fred had the absent dad. Okay. What other kind of dad did you guys have? I'll try to turn this volume down. Because sometimes Facebook is a little slow on Be Live. Okay, Nydia said absent dad and disappointed dad when he did come around. Golly. Now that's a message. That's a message. She had an absent dad, but then when he came around, he was a disappointed dad. And I think you talked about that last week, Nydia. Adrian said no daddy. She had the absent dad. When you have a dad present, there you feel like you can do anything. Proud, hardworking, never give up dad. Okay, Dwayne. Dwayne had a very present dad who was I'm assuming he was a cheerleader. So proud gives me that cheerleader aspect. It's like the video that I posted earlier this week where the young man from Tulsa University, which is interesting that our my bonus daughter went to Tulsa University and was a basketball player, and he was crying because he said he never thought his dad would be in the stands. Who were you looking for when you looked into the stands, or who did you see? Was it the disappointed dad? Some of us had that. I had a cheerleader dad once I was reunited with my dad. I had a dad who told me I could do anything. And that's what dads are supposed to provide. But when they're not present, How can they possibly provide that? How can they possibly provide that? I read something earlier that I wrote down. When dad is watching over me, there is nothing I can't do. When dad is watching over me, there's nothing I can't do. Nothing. And many of us didn't get that chance. We didn't get that opportunity. So that's what we want to get into tonight. We want to get into what is love, because I'm asking what kind of dad you had, because that also tells me what you, how you view love and how you define love. We can sit here and say, I define love as unconditional and selfless and bloop, 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 and all of this stuff. But what Chris said was, love is a journey and it's a verb. It's not a noun. So my question then becomes, we know what it's supposed to be. We know the definitions. My true question is, how do you behave when love is presented to you? Because do you know what love is? Do you know that love is supposed to hold you accountable? Like Tamika said, conversations with her stepfather that encouraged her with the good things and didn't sugarcoat anything when it was wrong. How do you view love? Do you view love as you're supposed to praise me and tell me how great I am all the time? You're supposed to tell me how awesome I am every single time, even when I do something wrong? Is that how you view love? Because how you view that love will determine what kind of love you're giving. There are different types of love. Let me see what else I want to say. Ooh, this was good for me. Crazy and needy, Nydia said. See, this is why I like my girl Nydia. Nydia gonna tell you the truth. I know what it's supposed to be, but how I show up is different than how I believe I know it's supposed to be. Nydia said, Bark, you okay over there?
Just eating a walnut.
She heard you coughing. Yes.
Right. She heard you. Sit you stay on my personal affairs.
Yeah, so how you show up versus the definition. It's real easy to have things in theory. My background is in chemistry, so you learn something in a book. And I think I shared this with you guys before. You learn stuff in a book, but when you're in school, your whole grade doesn't come from what you learn out of that book. Hey, Becca. The other thing that you get a grade on is what you do in the laboratory. Can you make what you learned in theory manifest in the actual? Like, for real. Don't choke coughing so loud. She's calling you out. At least he's not snoring tonight. Okay.
Hey.
Can we get an amen over here?
No amen.
Call me the pop-off queen. But I'm doing better. Yes, I do know, Mo. Can't do that because you know what love is supposed to be. But how are you showing up? And how you're showing up is being determined by how you perceived love as a child. This is all coming from you as a child. Something that I wrote down, and this pertains to, I think it pertains to all of us. There was a quote from the book that I just showed you, The Father You've Always Wanted. It says, living for a father's approval. It says you transition from living for our father's approval and begin to live from his approval. Can I say that again? You transition from living for your father's approval and begin to live from his approval. But how do you do that when you didn't have a father? When your father wasn't present and you don't know if he approved of you? Let's be honest. Some of us, our fathers didn't approve of us and didn't even acknowledge us. So how then do you live from that place? Yeah, that's the real test, Becca. And Adrian said accountability all day. Fatherless individuals don't do well with accountability. You know why we don't do well with accountability? Because our fathers didn't teach it to us. Our mothers taught us some of it. But as I've been quoting lately, my friend Travis told me something that I think is a powerful quote, and I use it everywhere I go. And I gave it my own twist, but it makes sense. He said, I have to be present in my child's life or my children's lives in order to speak to the part of me that's in them. And how can a child be accountable, or a mother teach a child how to be accountable to a part of them that they don't even recognize? You can't. You can teach them the general principles of accountability. But there's a part of you that shows up that comes from your father, and there's a part of you that shows up that comes from your mother, the good and the bad. So then how do you teach your children accountability from the perspective that comes from their father when he's not present? Nydia says, funny thing is, someone pointed out to me that I chase love with a jetpack, but do the opposite by being extremely needy and insecure. And it made me think, okay. So you chase it, but once you get it, you become needy and insecure. Some of us only have our mother's version of the story and have a picture of him never approving of our existence. Yeah. Becca said, I do the same thing. Preach, you are on it tonight. Well, thank you. Adrian said that part. But a mother can't be accountable for a father. Nope. And that's what we're not asking her to be. What we're saying is everybody has to play their part in their role. And when a father isn't present, you show up in a relationship having an issue when somebody speaks to this accountability part that you don't even recognize because your mother wasn't there to, your father wasn't there to speak to it. Your mother was, but she can only speak to her part. So when your father's absent and then someone shows up and tells you how raggedy you are, you got a character flaw, you got an issue here, or this is your blind spot, you got an issue. Because at the end of the day, that comes from your father. And so it's rubbing you the wrong way. Oh, I hear that in my spirit. The reason you feel under attack and it's rubbing you the wrong way is because that's a part of your father and it brings up a certain emotion because he wasn't present. Brings up a certain emotion because he opted out. And you don't know why he opted out. Maybe he opted out because your mother was crazy. Maybe he opted out because the court stuff cost too much. Maybe he opted out because he was young and dumb. I have fathers who call me all the time. You know what they say when they start? I made a bad decision when I was about 19, 20 years old, and I need to correct it. It's 15 years later, but I need to correct that. Everybody should have that level of grace. So I don't want to get off too much on a tangent. We're talking about how to love, and tonight, that's our series that we're doing for the next month or for February. And tonight we're talking specifically about what is love. And I wanted to get into that because the truth of the matter is we don't know what love is. We don't know. Mo said, I have the independent woman syndrome. So it's always been hard to allow a man to lead me. And allowing a man to lead you is also the same as allowing a man to love you. That's a message. Stop, Tokyo. Leave that down there. I had a cheerleader dad. He pushed me to buy my very first home at 21, and my dad have always gave me tough love. And that's when you didn't have a dad, you like tough love. What you talking about? What you mean? I don't like that part. That's not the part I need the love that shows me that you're infatuated with me. I need the love that shows me that you desire me sexually and you desire this and that. I need the love that's romantic and I need you to buy me flowers and this and that. But that's just one form of love. So I want you guys to talk. Let's talk tonight. And I want to say this before I talk to you about things about Lord, the different types of love. There was a quote that I read online today as I was preparing for this, and I was like, the quote says, we can ignore the most available and potentially fulfilling type of love. We can ignore the most available and potentially fulfilling type of love simply because we have no idea what it means. Because we're looking for, I'm going to go with number one. The first type of love that I want to talk about is Eros. Eros. I'll put number one. Eros. And so Eros is that sexual, passionate, that chemistry you feel when you first meet somebody. It's romantic. It's this, I'm falling in love. It's that, oh, I've fallen in love, right? You know, love is a decision beyond that, but we'll get to that in a moment. Love is blind, right? That's that part of that love. And I learned something tonight as I was studying love. Eros love is typically that Cupid, when you see Cupid, like Valentine's Day is on Friday, right? And it's the perfect time to talk about love. And I'm wearing red. Look at that. I didn't even coordinate this. Look at that. I did that right. I'm going to give myself some snaps for that. I didn't even think about that. But Eros is that Cupid kind of love. But let me tell you something. I learned this tonight. most depictions of Cupid, he's blindfolded. Did you know that? I didn't know that. How many of you knew? Put a 1 in the box if you knew that when you see a depiction of Cupid, he's blindfolded. And that's the typical depiction. How many of you knew that? Put a 1 in the box if you knew that. Put a 2 in the box if you was as clueless as me. I was clueless. I was absolutely clueless. I had no idea. Because Eros love is blind. I don't care about your flaws. I just want to be with you, boo. I don't care about your rights and your wrongs. I just want to be with you. I'm blind. Yeah. Monique over here. Hey, Monique. Monique said 2. She had no clue. Cupid is blind in most of the depictions. Everybody says 2 over here. Becca and Shauna. He's blindfolded. He's blindfolded. She said, I saw it, but I never paid attention. Exactly. You're paying attention to the arrow and where it's going, and it's got a cute little heart on it. Yeah. Cupid is blindfolded in most of the depictions of him because we fall in love and I'm blind and I'm this, because that's Eros. Yes, Adrian. Yeah, that's godly kind of love. That's what we're going to get to here in a moment. Nydia had no clue either. Look it up. It blew my mind. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So Eros, when we move into the direction, so let's say we meet somebody and we fall for them and we're like, oh, it's amazing. If you're headed in the right direction, Eros will turn into philia. It will turn into philia love. And that's the friendship, that's the shared goodwill. That's, you even have mutual beliefs and companionship. You have mutual desires. There's a dependability in them that now you've shifted from, and Eros is still a part of it, but it matures and it grows. So I'll put, so philia is this friendship. Because how many of you know some people got the friendship after they got the relationship? And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Some of us started out as friends and it evolved into a relationship. But the beautiful part is you have the friendship in the midst of the relationship, because some of the stuff you don't. You don't. Oh yeah, you go from, this is the part I really like. You go from Eros, which is this place of lust and possession, to a place of, how did I put the trust, shared desire. So you've gone from this I'm lusting after them, I'm craving them, I'm falling for them and all that, and then you go to a place of desire, shared desire and trust. How many of you make it to the trust spot? Because I know as fatherless children, we have a real issue with trust, and we actually find ourselves stuck between Eros and philia. Even after we get married, we find ourselves stuck between those two because we don't fully walk into the trust. We don't fully walk into the companionship or the shared desire. We don't. And so when you are fatherless and you have not been taught what love is and you're struggling to really know what it is, you waver back and forth through this very surfacey love, this blind love, but then you want to hold somebody accountable. It might be why they're having an issue with you, because you haven't gotten into the depths of the relationship to really fall into Eros as you should. There's another type of love called storge. And some of us who are Christians, we've heard these terms, right? We've heard these terms, but I want to define them a little differently. And that's why I took notes, because I know how to say it from the Christianese version, from the biblical version. But this is the psychological version. This is the version that we really need to dig into. Storge is typically the kind of love that a parent has for a child. It's that familiar kind of love. It's that love that you trust subscriptions, not issues. Nydia said, trust subscriptions, not issues. Okay. I understand. Trust is something difficult for us when our father didn't show up when he said he was going to show up. And now you're a woman and you're looking at this man and he's telling you, I'm here, I'm present, and I'm not leaving you. And you're like, yeah, right. Because you have issues with abandonment and rejection. So you can't fully, it's like what Mo said, I'm this independent woman. I got this independent woman syndrome. So it's not always been hard, it's not always been easy for her to allow a man to lead her, but also allow a man to love her fully, because rejection and abandonment is always blocking. Yeah, Becca said my trust has a limit. Mm-hmm. Because the truth is you still hurt. And when somebody tries to give you that full love that we're going to get into here in a moment, that agape love, you karate chopping, you blocking. Hey, whoa, you blocking, because your trust has a limit. Your trust you have an issue with trust. And you've got to get past that in order to get to the next phase of your relationship. Because storge that's for your kids. That's not for your husband or somebody you love. It's familiar, but I don't know if I want to be loved just because I'm familiar to you, or I want you to be my boo because, oh, she's familiar. No, that's not really what I would go for. So the one that we want to look at is agape. Universal love, unselfish, unconditional. As much as we know that term, as much as we believe that that's possible, I think agape is something that God does. I think we can be that to our children. I think we can be that to a certain degree to our spouses. But like Becca said, that whole unconditional, I remember my aunt telling me one time, she's been married like 40 something years now. At the time, I think she was in her 30 something year. And she said, let me be very clear. My love, concerning this marriage has conditions. If you get on crack or drugs of any sort, that's a condition. I'm out. If you beat me, that's a condition. I'm out. If you cheat on me, that's a condition. I'm out. So I don't think we can say that we have unconditional love for our spouses. We may have unselfish love. We may have universal love. They are a mess over here. We got new pillows for the couches and stuff because we're finally making this a home in Florida. And Tokyo is just all about the pillows. So he is only getting on the couch with all the pillows. And Varg just swatted him down. So hilarious. It doesn't depend on conditions. It shouldn't, right? But that's how we move. Hey, Aaron. That's how we move, though, as people, as humans. See, God's love is unconditional. God's love is like, I love you no matter what. I'm going to always be present. I'm going to always be available. I'm going to always be whatever. Thank you, boo. That's my dance teacher, y'all. That's who taught me how to twerk in the workout class.
Thank you, Aaron.
Can't right now. He always takes it up a notch. I give a little bit, maybe a little TMI, but he then takes it way over the top. So anyway, and we laugh on here. Just so those of you who are tuning in for the first time, we're always gonna have a little laugh and a little fun. Aaron said, "Ha ha ha, you're welcome." Because some of this is a trigger, and I need to give that warning even now. What we talk about is always a trigger. This is never going to not be a trigger for you. So know that when you leave, there's journaling that you can do and other things that I'll talk about at the end. We can continue to love them from a distance. Absolutely, Adrienne. I talked about that with a cousin today. You can't keep loving people who are intending to destroy you and come for your space and always change and shift your energy. You can't love people like that. They have to be loved from a distance. Our parents, we've talked about toxic moms before on this platform. Go back through the videos for Healing Tuesday and you will see there were 2 episodes for toxic moms because a lot of people had that issue and they wanted to talk about it. And it just kept going and kept going. We have to sometimes love our parents from afar and honor them from afar. We want to be obedient. I want to be obedient to the Bible and what it says. It says, honor thy mother and father. And honoring them doesn't mean that they have to come into your space. See, that's conditions. I can love you. I can honor you. Okay, you like cards in the mail? Got you. You like candles? You like this? Got you. I'm going to send something. Like flowers? I'm going to send something to you. That's an honoring. I never talk ill and bad about you to people. That's not my mission. when it comes to my parents or my mother. So we honor them, but we sometimes have to put up what I also call boundaries. And if you got to put up boundaries, then some people may not see that boundary as a good thing. They don't see that as love, but that's self-love. And that could be loving them as well. That's accountability. That's self-love. Agape, I think, agape is tough. Agape is hard as a human being to actually always feel and always want to be selfless, and unselfish, because sometimes I want to be about myself. I don't always want to be the bigger person. We heard that on our coaching call a moment ago. One lady was like, I'm tired of always being the bigger person. See, there it is. Becca said, I honor my mother by not having any contact. Because when you have parents with all these disorders that we've talked about, and I need to sit properly, all these disorders that we've talked about, because it's odd, it is really hard to be in relationship with them. So let's go here right now. Loving your parents doesn't mean that you have to allow them to run over you, disrespect you, and treat you any kind of way. That's not what we're talking about here. When we're talking about the relationships of love and what is love, when we're talking about our father and our mother, we are not called to let our parents run over us. The scripture also says, provoke not your children to wrath. Right? So we typically, when we're dealing with people and we don't have relationships with our parents like they think we should, they immediately go, love thy mother and thy father, honor thy mother and thy father, so that your life will be long, right? But it also tells parents, do not provoke your children to wrath. That includes fathers. Some of our fathers have provoked us to wrath, and that's why we show up we started out as angry young girls, and we've turned into raging women. That's why little boys are angry, young boys, little boys, and they have turned into raging men. That's why you can watch reality TV shows, and guess what they do? Every scene, and I watch them. I got a lot of research from these, and there's something I'm doing with it, but I watch them for guilty pleasure too. But every scene, y'all gotta have a fight, or y'all making up. Y'all gotta have a fight, or y'all gotta have an event to help them make up. You throwing a drink in somebody's face? And when you do the research on these people, they were fatherless, and some of them were even motherless. How do you expect people to show up and not be angry? Provoke not your children to wrath, parents. Because what happens is they just running around Tasmanian devil, running around being angry at everything. And when they become an adult, they are raging. By the time they make it to adulthood, they are raging. So then you have men who are running through women with no remorse, no emotion, no nothing. And she's like, he just don't have no emotion because he's raging. It's still a little boy on the inside of him that's angry. Then you got a woman who always telling her man off. Always. Got an angry little girl who's now turned into a raging woman. Nydia, hey, thanks, Adrian. Nydia said, I'm going to need that verse because my mama doesn't listen. Babe, what's that verse? Look that verse up for me. Provoke not your children to wrath, because I can't tell you I know it off the top of my head. I do not. Becca said, that was my mother's mantra. I have to honor her, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, she was evil, abusive, and toxic. Yeah, no thanks. Yeah, once we get to a certain age, we don't have to tolerate that. But we can honor you from afar and honor you by not being in a relationship with you. What's the scripture?
Ephesians 6:4.
I'm going to put it in here for you. Nydia. There you go, babe. Provoke not your children to wrath. Because when you provoke them to wrath, you got an issue. Mo says, my husband tells me sometimes I don't show any remorse. Yeah. Don't have no emotion. That's from your childhood. That's from your childhood. Because you know what? When you showed emotion, it was showing weakness. When you showed emotion, you showed, child, people came for you. Because how many of you know nice people don't always win? What was that? The nice guys don't, what is that? Nice guys finish last. Yeah. That's not just guys. That's girl, like nice people. I've been nice to a lot of people. You get run over like a Mack truck. So then you have to find a way to show up differently, right? Doesn't mean that you're supposed to be mean, but I call it boundaries now. I show up with boundaries. I don't have to be mean. I'm not going to change myself and morph into something that I'm not just because you showed up wrong. But what I will do is set up boundaries. But when it comes to love, I have to make sure that I'm walking out a certain way so that I don't abuse and misuse somebody else's love because I didn't get what I needed. You never want to show up that way. And too many of us are. You have to stop abusing and misusing somebody else's love because you didn't learn what love was. You don't know how to love. Adrian said, okay, thank you, Adrian. Adrian said also Colossians 3:2. There you go. Thank you. Becca says emotions were dangerous. Emotions aren't dangerous. Emotions are a true reaction and feeling that we have that we need to express. And when you don't express them and you suppress them, you're going to show up in a way that you don't think you're showing up. Oh, I'm good. They don't know. I'm fine. And real people can see through all of that. Nydia said, I cut deep when I give people a tongue lashing. See? Raging because you were angry and you suppressed it. Mo said, I felt I would be taken advantage of. Yeah. And sometimes you are. But it doesn't mean that you're not supposed to put up boundaries. And that's how we mix the two up. Just because you're nice and then somebody takes advantage of you doesn't mean that you have to continue to be nice or turn into a mean person. You ain't got to turn into a mean girl, Mo. You give them boundaries. See how they respond. And most people are going to respond, oh, no, thanks. Because if they are trying to take advantage, they're going to say, oh, no, never mind. Right? But if they're really there for the long haul and they love you and they care about who you are, they'll stick it out. That goes into that relationship between Eros and Philia, and even a little agape. So let's look at ludus. Ludus is a playful, uncommitted love. It's teasing, flirting, seducing. It focuses on the fun and the conquest. No strings attached. We live in a world that's what we're dealing with now. And that's why I like this particular breakdown of what the 7 types of love happen to be, because they even gave some new ones that I felt really showcased how we've evolved this love thing that we're dealing with. We've evolved it to another place. We've evolved it to a place where you have ludus, which is a playful. It's casual. That's the other thing you need to know. It's casual. It's playful. It's uncommitted love. It's teasing, flirting, seducing. It focuses on the fun and the conquest. And how many of you know once the fun and conquest is over, they out? One of the things it also says is ludus can be a lasting love, especially with people. Mo, this is interesting because I think this works for you a little bit based on what you were saying about the independent factor. It can be lasting, and it works best when 2 people are mature and self-sufficient and independent. That's when it works best. But problems happen when one party or another, I wrote down catches feelings because that's what it is, and they go into Eros. Because the truth of the matter is, this is more of a friendship. It's a compatibility more than it is about the romantic side of things. Ludus has nothing to do with romance. It has to do with conquest. It has to do with being playful. But it doesn't have anything to do with falling in love. Emotions make you vulnerable. Being vulnerable would have gotten me killed. Therefore, I run like hell. I love the honesty of my people. You need to listen to that video from, what is her name? It's called Vulnerability. Oh, gosh. See, now I got to look it up. She even has a Netflix episode or a series. I think it's just one show. It's like an hour or so. And she talks about courage. Oh, what is her name? I can't even think of her name, and I got to know, you guys. I got to look this up. because I know it. It's on the tip of my tongue. I can see the lady's face. Vulnerability is courage. Vulnerability is truth. Yes, Brene Brown. Absolutely. There it is. See, y'all know. Have you listened to it? Have you absorbed it? Did you not karate chop it? I'm gonna tell you, y'all, my people can karate chop. Brene Brown, that's it. She has like a 12-minute video on YouTube. It was a TED Talk about vulnerability. But that courage one, ooh, on Netflix, it gets into vulnerability. It gets talks about what true courage is. True courage is showing up authentic, vulnerable, genuine, owning your truth. She said, I sort of kind of listened to it. You need to listen to it, Becca. Because what you just said, she tackles all of that. And you have to stop putting yourself around people who will kill you because of your vulnerability. How about that? That's the truth of the matter. And that's what it teaches us. You have to recognize people who will love you in spite of, who will love your vulnerability and not use it against you and not try to take you out. Are you waving art computer to wanting her to see you? What? Are you waving at your computer to wanting her to see you? I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean by that, Nibia?
You've been drinking.
Stop, babe.
I'm sorry, Nydia.
Get him. He needs help. So when we look at the Ludus kind of love, a lot of people are doing that these days because they grew up fatherless. They don't want any emotions involved. They don't want anybody to get in too deep, to know more about them, to put them in a position of being vulnerable. They don't want that. What they want is someone to have a little companionship, somebody to y'all just want somebody to have sex with. Let's just keep it real. And they called it, this a couple of years ago, they was calling it no cuffing season. Like we don't want no cuffs on. I don't want no commitments. I don't want any of that. I just want to come hang out with you, have some fun when I want to have some fun. Ain't no strings attached. That's where a lot of us are. And I'm not talking about me in general. I'm talking about fatherless individuals. That's where we are. Oh, I didn't put that in the box. I didn't even put agape in there. Did I put the storge in there too? I don't even know if I did. Four, agape, 5, ludus. I think ludus stands for ludicrous, lunacy. Because how many of you know we can only show up like that for so long without catching feelings? Can I get an amen, ladies? You can only show up that way for so long without catching feelings. When you were trying to figure out Brene Brown's name, I was waving at my computer like you could see me or something. No, okay, I'm sorry. I got you. I got you. Yes, I keep waiting for her to notice. Hilarious. Yeah, but we can't think that we can give a certain part of ourselves and not find ourselves in a position of wanting a relationship. And I even will tell you that men, as much as they play it off, they catch feelings too. You know how they cover up their feelings? They go get 2 other chicks that they don't care much about to try to cover up those feelings that they have for the one girl that they've been spending too much time with, as far as they're concerned. And I think that's crazy. They don't want to get up, starting to catch feelings. So I gotta go over here and get these 2 chicks to cover up what I'm feeling for this one chick. I have male friends who've done that. I was thinking the same too. Ludicrous. You get over the casual sex because more is needed. Yeah, more is required. Human beings require way more. We require way more than this casual, uncommitted sexual aspects. And we've talked about it. We talked about the levels of intimacy on this Healing Tuesday as well. We've talked about it. So you guys got to go back and get that as well. When it's what is love? Love is intimacy. Love is allowing you to see into me. So much so that you will speak and encourage the good things about me, but you will also speak and encourage the blind spots that I have. I don't even call it flaws or wrongs. I want to call them blind spots. I think blind spots is a better term because you more than likely can't even see them. Or you've been doing them so long, they are a habit that you don't know how to break. You get over the casual sex all day, Nydia. Y'all think y'all signing up for, oh, you know, we just having sex. Both of you are going to eventually catch feelings because you're inserting yourself into somebody, dudes. Giving all of that. You think it's just nothing. Planting seed. And ladies, you are literally taking somebody into you, and you think that you're not going to catch feelings about that person who is then planting. Look, y'all can talk to me all day long about, oh, he wear a condom. Oh, it's not really that. Oh, it's an intertwining of spirits, and they call it a soul tie. That's why certain ones you just can't shake. You're gonna have to get some prayer. You're gonna have to really go in because certain people you can't shake. Intimacy is not just sex. No, intimacy is a deeper level of a connection that you have with a person. It's a deeper level. And you think that that's intimacy. You don't even know what you're dealing with. You don't even know. Hey, Attorney Terry, you don't even know because once again, you don't even know what love is. You think sex is love. Oh, he said he loved me, so child, I had to let him know how much I liked it. So I had sex with him. Get out of here. That's part of the conquest, the fun. And I've heard women do that. I've heard women do the same thing. Yeah, the whole he's just a friend. He ain't just a friend. He's just a friend for the moment. And before you know it, you're going to be calling me as your homegirl, like, girl, I like him. I believe God called me and told me he was my husband. I believe God called him to be my husband. And he has no clue because y'all started out casually. Y'all started out in this ludus situation. Y'all started out talking about it's no commitment. This is just fun. No strings attached. There was a movie years ago called No Strings Attached. And guess what happened? They got attached. Because it's not possible. I don't know. We need to teach somebody. I don't know why nobody said anything to us. You can't do it. And I see what time it is, and I want to tackle the other two later. But I want to. Oh, I'm gonna end with this part because we're gonna talk for a moment about this. When we're looking at the 5 types of love that we've discussed tonight, and we'll get into the other 2 next week. We'll sum it up next week at the beginning, and then I'll go into the next series. This particular quote just blew me back. Just blew all of my weed back. Okay, just blew it back. We risk neglecting other types of love that is more consistent, stable, or readily available, longer term, prove more to heal and fulfilling because of our childhood. And I had to emphasize a few things, and I had to make it make sense for us. So I want to read this again. Because of our brokenness and how we show up, we risk neglecting other types of love other than the ludus, the eros, and even the storge, because many of us have children, right? They got children. So y'all know how to love like that. That's an easy love. But the other love, the agape, the philia, the one where you got a friend, right? We ignore those types of love. And like I said, the practical love is pragma that I'm going to get into next week. We risk neglecting those good parts of types of love that is more consistent, stable, readily available, longer term, and prove more healing in our lives and fulfilling because of our childhood and how we view love. How we view love. We risk it all. We risk it all. Do you guys realize that? You've loved some people you were never intended to love, but you loved them the only way you knew how to love. And you saw their love. Good evening, Catherine. How are you, love? You loved them the way that you did because of the father that you had or didn't have. And Instagram is counting me down. I got 13, 12, 11. I want to leave you with that. Pay attention to why you only receive the type of love that you receive and make a change. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. It's counting me down. Yeah. Instagram only allows you exactly 60 minutes. It will count you down and remove you immediately. But you need to recognize what love is, how to love, and how you learn to love from a present, absent, disappointed, critical cheerleader dad, and dig into that this week. Because that's why you are not willing to take the risks that you need to take. And I'm sorry, I got my retainers in. It's like risks sound real lispy.
Like Tyson?
Like Tyson. No, I'm not going to say that. But that's why you are showing up the way you are. You need to ask yourself the hard questions. Why do I know what love is, but why do I keep showing up and acting the way that I do when love shows up? Was it my father? Was it because he wasn't present? Was it because he was present, but he was always disappointed and he wasn't proud of me? So then I've become that person when love shows up in my life. Am I the hypercritical person in the relationship? Although I know I'm supposed to love unconditionally in some ways, and I'm supposed to give selfishly, but I don't, because I'm holding something back because I don't want to be vulnerable. That's what I want you to ask yourself this week. I forgot to put the journal thing up last week. I promise you I will do both this week. Last week was busy. I'm headed to Chicago as well on Friday. But that's what I want you guys to accepting love is the hard part. Yeah, Becca, but why? This week you have to ask yourself, why is accepting the love the hard part? And not just the top level of why, but dig into the other levels of why. Why? Because my mother was evil and abusive. Okay, that's part of it. But then what's the next place? What's the next part? Because I know your husband has shown up, and you've talked so beautifully about him and how he's been present and he's helped you work through some of the things that you've had to work through. But we still have these places that we have to allow our spouses to get to because they're intended to help us heal. They're intended to help us be everything we're called to be, and that's healed and whole, fulfilled, constant and consistent. Because that's what God promised us. He promised that he would never leave nor forsake us. He promised that he would always be present. And we didn't find that with our Father, so it's hard for us to understand what that looks like. So why are you neglecting the types of love that can add healing and fulfillment to your life is the question I want to leave you with tonight. And as you look through the 5 that I've already put up, because I think that's more than enough to help you understand what love is. And we'll get into the other 2 next week. What is love to you? You know what it is. So now I need you to ask yourself, why don't you show up that way? And then what do you need to do to show up that way? Because as I know my issues, I keep running away because the shame hurts so bad it scares me. I know you know your issues. That's what I love about you. And you can tell us point blank. So now it's like, okay, let's get deeper. Where's this? Why am I carrying shame? Yep. Why am I carrying shame? And as like you keep plowing it away, it's like, when you're planting and you got a farm or you're just planting herbs, you got to keep digging and putting the seeds in. You got to keep going under and getting underneath there to till the ground. Nydia is coming for you tonight.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not afraid of you.
She is coming. She said, you coughed over there. She said, leave them walnuts alone.
All right.
Leave them. Thank you, Pastor Marquita. I'm glad you were able to come on. But that's what I want to ask you tonight. And that's where I want you to sit. And I'm going to put it's easy to do. I don't know why I didn't do it last week. Yes, I do. I had the event. So let me end with that. But let me also kind of give you updates on a few things that are going on. This weekend, for anyone who's in the Chicago area, I will be in Chicago this weekend with some amazing people who I have decided I will only work with my friends on these kind of events, because last event it kept evolving, it kept changing, and I was like, I ain't got time for that. So I've got my friend Rhymefest, Chase Smith, Rhymefest, rapper. You are always working on it, and I love that about you, Becca, because I'm still working on it too. I've got Rhymefest. He wrote Jesus Walks. He wrote the song Glory. He's done a lot of things. He was always in the producing room with Kanye West back in the day. Um, but he has an awesome documentary called In My Father's House. You can watch it on Amazon Primes. For those of you who can't come, you can watch it on Amazon Prime. It's an amazing journey of his reunification with his father, who abandoned them at the age of 12. He found himself moving back into the home that they grew up in or were raised in until his father abandoned them. And then he goes on a search and looking for his father, who he finds out is homeless and an alcoholic. And you watch them go through this journey of reuniting. And it is not pretty in any way, shape, or form. And this weekend at the All-Star Game events, the weekend in Chicago, we will be talking about the journey to reunification. And that's part of the journey. Is we're going to watch the documentary, do a screening, and then have a panel discussion with Jeffrey Leving, who is a prominent family law attorney, has been recognized by multiple presidents for his work in fatherhood and encouraging fathers and the forgotten father aspect, and fathers who have been absent, and he's helping them become present. I have Kerry Casey, who is someone I love dearly. He was the CEO of the National Center for Fathering, and now he has his own called Championship Fathering that he has started. He was the chaplain for the Cowboys, the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm coming for real with this conversation. I have LaShawn K. Ford, who is the state representative for Illinois in the Chicago area. He ran for mayor last year. I have Glenn Baby Davis, who played for the Clippers, the Celtics, and the Magic, the Orlando Magic, and now he plays in the Big Three League. And then I have myself, who's moderating. How about that? Oh, no, I can't forget the one person. Oh, I got Isaiah Williams coming in from St. Louis. Isaiah grew up with a father who was incarcerated for 26 years. And his mother would always allow him to go to the prison and see his father and keep that relationship. And let me tell you, this man has a story, and he can help you deal with this. And I'm creating a healing room for men this weekend. That's what this is about. They're going to come and heal. And this is for women as well. This is not just for men. But I know that men will show up in droves because of the conversation and because of who's on the panel. But that's what I'm doing this weekend, because it's something God told me to do. Obedience is better than sacrifice. So I will be in Chicago this weekend. Then my aunt did pass. Some of you who are my personal friends, on my personal page, you can see that. But my aunt passed, so I will stay in Chicago for a few more days and then go to the memorial in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And then I will be in DC, and then I'll come back, and Mayor Anthony and I will hit Toronto. What am I hitting? Toronto. Yes, it is going to be epic, Marquita. Absolutely. I go to Toronto, and I'm there. I have 2 events in Toronto, and then I hit Ottawa and Montreal. And that's what I'm doing for March. And we'll get into April at another time. I will be all the way on the other side of the world when I'm doing Healing Tuesdays. I will be in Africa for a month, and I'm super excited about it because this is important work that I get to do, and I get to walk in this calling in a way that I never expected. And that's what it's about. It's about healing you guys. It's about bringing healing to you. And hopefully I'll come back with a greater understanding of my gifting and my healing while I'm in Africa. I just lost my best friend from high school. Oh, please pray for me. Absolutely, Becca. I pray that you have peace that surpasses all understanding. I pray that you go through the stages of grief in an appropriate manner, and that you cherish the memories that you guys had, and remember the good times way more than the fact that you've lost her. I know what that's like. That's tough. Yeah, with my aunt passing, I was prepared. I was prepared in some way because I knew, getting updates from my mother, where that was leading, and even though they were in denial. And I had to find the moments of being proud of her, and moments of remembering how she would scream when I would walk into the room, or, when she wasn't expecting me to be in town, or how she would always want me to pray for her, before I would leave. How she would love on me. Like my auntie, y'all, she was not a small woman. She was a pretty big woman. And she would hug you and just smash you all up in the sweat and the fat and all of that. And you just take it. I remember that stuff, Becca. And that's what I want you to do. I'm so sorry for your loss, but I want you to know that the memories you still have, so you haven't lost it all. I got to sing at this funeral, or it's a memorial. So I trust me when I say I do know, and I have waves of it. When I'm practicing the song, I'm like, whoo, yeah. So I'm really sorry for your loss. Thank you, Marquita. I keep pushing, girlfriend. I don't know how I'm doing it. I know it's God. So I leave you guys with that tonight. I'm Dr. Tori J. Evans-Barton. I'm the founder and CEO of this amazing organization called the Fatherless Generation Foundation. And it is my honor and privilege to be able to pour into you as much as I can on Healing Tuesday. And I want you to not only figure out how to love and what is love, but I am excited to see you be loved. And so I will talk to you guys next week. I can't wait to see you next Tuesday. I will be in Chicago. I'll talk to you later. Bye.